Hey everyone, my name is Chris Lambert, and on this channel we talk Kanye West. And today we are talking this interview with T.I. that he did with Hip Hop DX, and it actually reveals something that I think I knew at some point, but kind of forgot, and now I'm reminded of, and I'm very excited about, and that's that T.I. had a verse on Drive Slow. And I've never been like a... No, that's not true. I had a period of being like a T.I. fan, but I don't return to T.I.'s music all that much, right? Like I respect him. I respect the songs that I hear when a T.I. song comes on. I'm like, oh yeah, I like that song. But I'm not sitting there like playing through T.I. albums. So I tend to sometimes forget how great Tip can be. And he talked about his verse on Drive Slow. And it's something that I completely forgotten existed. And you can watch this video and get like the full verse, right? It's the full 5-minute, 24-second version of Drive Slow that has Kanye, that has Paul Wall, that has GLC. And then you get Tip coming in at the end doing his verse. And it's legitimately fantastic. And the verse here, you can see, looking at life through my rear view, all the problems I had could be seen a lot clearer after time had passed. Like already in theme with the song and putting a great punctuation on these verses. Because we have Kanye who's really looking back at his past, right? And his friend Molly, who's getting money due to his dad dying and getting women and buying things, while Kanye's just kind of sitting there observing this and wanting to have kind of the lifestyle that Molly is getting to live at this point. But when he asked Molly, like, yo, put me onto them girls, right? Molly's like, nah, you need to drive slow. Like, I don't think you understand what I am getting involved with and kind of what my situation is. He's trying to protect Kanye. But then you have Paul Wall's verse where Paul just goes like full tilt into that behavior, right? Where like Molly's kind of on the cusp of like having some things and having attention. Paul Wall's like the escalation of that and is just in that culture, in that aspect. And when he's talking about driving slow, it has a completely different context. It's not like be cautious. It's we don't want to pass up an opportunity to indulge in what we have. And GLC also kind of gets into a little bit of that like swagger, big bad mindset. Not big bad in like a villain kind of way, but just big bad in terms of like a boss at this point in his career. And this is what Kanye was dealing with at the time in Late Registration. He was going from this Kanye, like K-Rock, Chicago Kanye, who's kind of been on the outskirts of everything, to finally being in that GLC level of having money, being a baller, having some of the status that comes with being established. And not that GLC was like this bigger artist than Kanye at the time, right? This is just the energy that GLC is channeling, kind of the role that he's playing on the track. But T.I. then comes in and is this even grander voice, because T.I. was the most established of these three at this point, and he's really bringing more of that perspective. And you read through the verse, and I get in some respects why Kanye would have cut it for the album. And that's because at this point in Late Registration, Drive Slow is kind of the start of the second act when Kanye's really caught between the indulgences of fame and celebrity that he's now getting to take part of. And this section between Drive Slow and Addiction is really representative of these the mixed bag that celebrity brings, and some of the lows and some of the highs, but the lows that come with those highs, that T.I. I think is almost too cathartic in that way, or too thoughtful in terms of the ignorance that Kanye wants to get into. He's building to addiction and building to this I am not learning anything and kind of falling prey. And then it's Diamonds from Sierra Leone. I almost said Diamonds in a New Dress. It's Diamonds from Sierra Leone and We Major that really are Kanye having his awakening and being like, oh, I have this sense of responsibility. I need to not do these things. I need to be a role model, which is a lot of what T.I. comes through with here, is that wisdom. And I feel like if Drive Slow was a later track on Late Registration, T.I.'s verse fits very well. But because it's the earlier part of the album where Kanye is still trying to show how ego can warp your decision making and cause you to fall prey, and that these indulgences or cravings for indulgence can happen, T.I.'s verse is just a little too full of wisdom for what the song's trying to do at that point, so it gets cut. But we still have this music video that exists, and T.I. talks about how he's never heard the song in full, right? Right here. Right, nope. Where is it? Yeah, here. Okay. I didn't hear it played in its entirety. I've never heard anywhere, any club, any radio station, the whole thing played from start to finish, and I'm the last verse. Yeah. So you really just get the actual album cuts rather than the video cuts. But he said that Kanye called and asked me to get on it. He said he needed a verse for it, and the strange part about it, right, the song was already 5-6 minutes long. I was like, yay, what do you want me to do here? He's like, man, don't worry about it. I just need you to do a verse. I was like, all right, brother. So I did a verse for him. Then he shot the video, which is kind of wild too, because for Kanye just being like, yo, it doesn't matter, just give me a verse, T.I. was really on like theme for this song, right? Like getting the driving metaphor, relating everything back to driving and speed and pace. And he just really got what this song was doing and brought his perspective to it in a way that's like legitimately awesome. And his rapping on it's awesome, just his flow and how he delivers some of those lines. It's so good. And then I was like, what are you guys doing with this mini movie? This is a short film. Yeah, it is. Know what I'm saying? This was my first time working with Hype Williams, and I love the record. So he likened it to Big Sean's Control, which is what featured Kendrick and Jay Electronica. And it's one of the things that made Kendrick like so huge. Like everybody was talking about Kendrick's Control verse, right? I mean, whatchamacallit, Good Kid Mad City was already out, so Kendrick was already Good Kid Mad City famous, but his Control verse was really like taking off the glove and smacking people across the face. But just the fact that Kendrick's come to define control to the point where you don't really hear Jay Electronica is what Tip's getting at. Like nobody's heard Jay Electronica's verse yet. I've not heard his verse yet. So that's just kind of a similar thing. And then he talks about Kanye and he says, yay, I'm always going to appreciate his contributions to the culture, and I'm going to always have love for him. I look at him like a brother, and that's just tripping. Or I look at him like a brother that's just tripping. I'm not going to waste much time or energy trying to convince you to turn it around, to see it a different way. I'm just going to sit back, and I'm going to continue to love you from a distance and just say you're tripping, which, I mean, he has said Kanye is tripping. And he did go out and do the Ye versus the People conversation, which he just went out to have a conversation with Kanye, which I really respect him for doing rather than just, calling him out on social media. He went and talked with Kanye, did Ye versus the People, which I still really like a lot, but everybody always hates it. But it's interesting to see that he's just saying like, I'm just going to do this from a distance at this point. Because I think after that first conversation, Tip was saying some nice things like, I talked to Kanye, you really need to hear him out, and was giving him a little bit more credit. It wasn't until Kanye went and saw Trump in the White House that T.I. really like pivoted on how he was discussing Kanye. Like that was kind of the breaking points for him, and he was highly critical of that. And I think he's been pretty, like he's come back from how critical he was at the end of 2018. I think that was October 2018. But now he's kind of settled into this place like, I'll always respect him, but love him from a distance. Tip did admit he agreed with Kanye's Twitter rants about major record labels, which kicked off in September. I do think he has a very, very, very valid point on how the record industry... on how the record industry, he says. That's weird. I agree that if he asked Universal how much for his masters and how much to buy him out of whatever contract he's in, and they're not even giving him a number, I think that's an excuse. Why would they not tell him, even if it's $100 million? Well, looking at what your catalog generates and looking at what you're trying to make, or what we look to make from here to whatever time this contract expires, let's call it 125 million. And he says, yeah, let me give you 125 million. Then they need to let that man up out that contract, even with his political views. I don't believe that the equity of his art should be held hostage like that. Whether the chatter around Kanye's contracts has died down for now, T.I. is still on a roll with his Expeditiously podcast, speaking to Young Thug on this week's episode. Yeah. So that's the article. Interesting just to hear some of T.I.'s thoughts on Kanye at this point, but also just wanted to highlight how good this verse is, even if I have my theories about why Kanye cut it and why I think the album version fits the album better. I wouldn't complain if this was the album version, right? It would just kind of point to this is the place that Kanye needs to get to. And that when you get to Addiction, look how far away he is from being like T.I., right? But then he gets there. He does. So go back and listen to Drive Slow again. Listen to this video and hear T.I.'s verse if you haven't done that. And we'll be back with more videos soon. Until then, stay wavy, keep it loopy, and that's it. Cheers.